to Recipes for the Cooking Impaired, and you're here with me, your friendly neighborhood kitch witch, Tara. And I want to welcome you for all of you newbies. Come on in, come to my house, enjoy some yummy foods. You're gonna have so much fun. If this is a return, thanks for coming back. Um, I would also like to say, for those of you that are watching and you're not sure if you want to be a subscriber, you're not sure if you want to be one of our foodie friends, it's okay. You're welcome. And feel free to click the subscribe button, hit the like button. It actually helps the channel if you click the like button and you hit the subscribe button so that you get more of the wonderful foodie content. And are you ready? Are you ready to find out what magic we're gonna whip up in the kitchen? For those of you that have been asking me, where is the vegan food? Where is the things that don't have meat? I am here for you today. We are going to do a vegan lentil soup. Now, for those of you that are like, vegan, it's okay. There's two things about vegan food that you should know. One, it's still regular food. It will not kill you. I swear. And two, you can do like I've done with all my other videos and substitute. You can substitute. So in the recipe, there's vegetable broth. Instead of vegetable broth, you can use chicken broth. So for everybody, we have an option. But for our poor vegans, they had been begging. And I am so glad that you contacted me and you told me your concerns because I don't want anybody feeling left out. I love you all, my foodie friends. Anyhow, let's get started with the recipe, shall we? So we can get this on the road. Vegan lentil soup. 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil or avocado oil. We're actually going to use avocado oil. It adds an extra flavor and a smoothness. There really isn't one better choice over the other than in this recipe, I like the avocado oil flavoring better, but it's fine either way. You do 1.5 cups of chopped yellow onions. They're also called sweet onions. Now, if you don't want to use yellow onions, or say you're at home and you have everything else on the list, but you have white onions or purple onions, it's fine. White onions would be better than the purple, but just use what you got. It is okay to substitute things. This is how we make new recipes, guys. Substitutions and trying something new. All right, 1 cup of chopped carrots. So you're going to get not chopped carrots in a can, raw carrots, and chop them up. And I will show you about the size of them when we get to the kitchen. 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. That's the stuff that comes in a little jar. You can use dry minced garlic in a pinch, but in this recipe, the the wet, moist refrigerator garlic is the one you want. 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. 4 cups of vegetable broth, or in the case of those of you that are doing a substitution, you're going to use chicken broth if you don't want to do vegetable broth. 1 cup of water. 1 can of navy beans, and you're going to open the can, drain it, and then rinse it once and drain it. Does 2 things. You don't have that kind of moist, gelatinous mixture stuck to it, for 1. And 2, when you rinse beans, you take out some of the wonderful additives that causes farts. The flatulent additive. Always rinse your beans. It's a good thing. And those of you that have visitors and they're sharing food with you, they will appreciate it. 1 cup of dry lentils. Now, they can be any color. Those of you that don't know, lentils come in a lot of different colors. You can find them in black. You can find them in brown. You can find them in green. You can find them in orange. We're using brown because that's what I had available. You can even do a mixture of colors and mix them up. That's totally fine too. In fact, Sometimes that is better because then your eyes and your body get slightly different vitamins that are in one color over another. So something that's green will have different vitamin content than something that's yellow. It herbology, plants, the earth sciences are amazing. The things that come out of the ground, off of the trees, it it's just awesome. Use real food. Real food is good. We like real food. All right, half a cup of sun-dried tomatoes in oil. Now, until I made this recipe for the first time, I did not know that you ever could find sun-dried tomatoes in oil. I thought sun-dried tomatoes were dried and tiny and shriveled up in like bags and boxes. I didn't know anybody puts them in oil. You want them in oil because you want them to have the softness. It reconstitutes them. You still have the kind of toasted flavoring that comes from sun drying the tomatoes, but with the oil, it reconstitutes it. It'll work better in the recipe for the soft bits, and with the tiny bit of the oil, it adds some extra flavors to your soup. So this is going to be great, but we're not going to use all the oil. So when you measure out your half a cup, you're going to drain the oil. Having some oil on the pieces is fine, but you're going to drain off most of it. Mine were also pretty good size. They were like this, so I also cut them. So you might need to cut down your sun-dried tomatoes if you're not able to find them in pre-cut form. All right, next we got 3/4 teaspoon of salt and 3/4 teaspoon of pepper. That's what I mean by salt and pepper. It's 3/4 of each. Then you have 1.5 teaspoons of red wine vinegar. So red wine vinegar is not the same as cooking wine. It is a form of vinegar. So when you're going to the store, make sure you pick up the one that says red wine vinegar. It'll be with the other vinegars. But you only want 1.5 teaspoons because vinegar is very potent. It's very strong. But we need it to help cut down some of these other flavors. So good times. And then last, 1 tablespoon of dill weed. And no, that's not an insult. That's actually what you call the seasoning. And 1 tablespoon of parsley. My camera woman is laughing so hard right now because that has been a running joke the whole time I was getting everything set up. She's very silly. She's very silly. All right, so now for my metric fans, as always, I got you covered. And yes, I know this is a super, super long recipe. It will not take as long as the ingredients are, but you're done. But once it's done, you're going to have a real flavorful soup. And that's the important part. It's going to taste amazing. It's going to seem like you are an awesome cook. And I know that for some of you, that's why you're watching. It's because you want to improve your abilities to cook and try something that's not hard, but tastes great. So let's go into the kitchen and get started, shall we? Alrighty, so as you can see, we have our ingredients all set out, and we have our ginormous pot. I have the stovetop set for medium heat. The very first thing we're going to do is measure out our oil, and we're going to put our carrots, as you can see, tiny little circular items, and our onions. They're together because they are going to saute in the oil together. Okay. And the biggest thing is going to be letting everything kind of soften and permeate into this wonderful oil. And like I said, we're doing avocado oil. So for the avocado oil, you're doing 2 tablespoons. I was a silly girl. I took out 1/2 tablespoon. So we're going to do this a few times. Use the circular side because that is for liquids. Wow, there's half. There's one. There's 1.5. There is 2. Okay. There we go. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to also add in the garlic ahead. Now the garlic, we can use this other side for. And for the garlic, we're doing 1 tablespoon. So we're going to do 2 scoopies. 2 scoopies. Make sure that it's even. There's half. If there's a little juice in there, it's totally fine. The juice is what we need. Oh, it's time to wake up. Just kidding. Sometimes our computers and background noise is fun because computers don't understand quiet on the set. And that's okay. They're just computers after all. We don't have to worry about that until the overlords take over. You know, the ones made of computer parts. Okay, we're going to stir the oil in the garlic. And now we're going to add in our onion and carrots. Come out of there. There you go. All right, so we're just going to let this permeate into the oil. Kind of let it saute a little bit. Let it get nice and fragrant. So we're going to put this in. You're going to let this do that for about 3 to 4 minutes. So we're going to put this on here and give that 3 or 4 minutes and we'll be right back with it. Okay, it has simmered for 3 to 4 minutes. It smells good. I can smell the onions starting to cook down. I can smell the garlic. If you were at my house, you could smell this too, but you do not know where I live, and that is okay. Next, we're going to add the tomato paste. Okay, so we have about 2 tablespoons in there. If there's a little more, that's okay. I actually like there to be a tiny bit more. So it kind of depends on how you like tomatoes. Again, the thickness is important. It is required. It helps. And do not use tomato sauce. Tomato sauce is too loose. It is too wet. It will not work with this particular recipe. Yeah. All right, my friends. So we stir that in. Make sure it's all mixed in nicey. And then we're going to go ahead and stir in the broth. My camera lady, can you hand me the broth? You are so wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. So this is 4 cups vegetable broth. And then we're going to add the water. Now, I did not pre-fill the water. So I'm going to put you guys on hold for a half a minute and get some water. All right, we're using the same container. That is a measuring cup, by the way, that has onion in it because, well, we're cooking onion anyway. So we'll just get all the onion that got stuck on the sides, pour it in with the water. Again, you can reuse your utensils. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing. Unless, of course, you use your utensils for raw chicken. Then no, don't reuse it. Then ones with raw chicken, because there's a thing out there called salmonella. Now, those of you vegans that are watching this, disregard this comment. However, you can share it with your friends that eat chicken. So, yeah, that's okay. It's good to share the knowledge. Pause. Why do you keep saying? All right, and my camera woman reminded me that salmonella can also be on salad. So vegans, please be careful. And vegetarians, please be careful with that as well. All right, now we are ready to add the lentils. Like I said, I have the brown, but you can use any color or a multicolor. And we're going to add the beans. Navy beans. Navy beans. All right. And again, remember these have been drained and rinsed. And then next, we're going to add our sun-dried tomatoes. Num, 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 num. And as you can see, I cut them down. So they still have some oil, but they're not drenched in oil, and they've been cut. Okay, you don't want big pieces in there. Unless, of course, you really like tomatoes and like to have like a big bite of tomato in your soup. I guess that's a, personal preference. I know you're probably wondering, well, what about the red wine vinegar? That is at the end, along with our dill weed and our parsley. And my camera lady is joking again because she says I shouldn't call people dill weeds, and I'm not. I'm calling the seasoning dill weed, and it's totally fine because it is its actual name. So, there. All right, and then we're going to add the salt and pepper. That's our last one to add before we let this cook and simmer. So, as you can see, some of my salt is thicker, and that is okay because it will all dissolve in the water, in the, not the water, in the soup. Because salt dissolves in water. So, okay. So our salt and our pepper were mixed in the container together, and that is okay. And this wonderful soupy. And it has a wonderful smell. My camera lady keeps sniffing her nose closer and closer to the pots. And all I can say is don't fall in. All right, so we're going to go ahead and cover this. You're going to leave it on high for a few minutes, long enough for it to start to boil. For your stovetop, it could be a different amount of time. You're looking at maybe 10 minutes, thereabouts. As soon as it starts to boil, we're going to put it down on low and let it simmer for 30 to 40 minutes. So this is part one. As it's starting to boil, though, you're going to periodically stir this bad boy because you don't want it to stick. And you also don't want it to burn. Because although you can say some things are Cajun, I don't know that you want to try to pass off vegetarian lentil soup as blackened Cajun, because I don't know that exists. That's more of something you do with meat. And we're talking about a vegetarian food. We're also not making like in a Louisiana recipe, which is totally fine. Those are delicious, but we're not actually doing that. We are making just a nice, delicious, basic vegan lentil soup. So I'm going to give it some time. But again, please stir so it doesn't burn and scorch. All right. We'll come back to when it's ready to simmer. Okay, guys, as you can see, it's already started boiling. So you're going to stir it around a little bit like you've been doing this whole time. And now we're going to turn it down to low, also known as simmer. Some people's stoves may actually say simmer on them. This one, it totally does. Go ahead. We're going to go ahead and uncover it. So just so you know, when it comes to cooking on the stove, when you have something you're trying to boil, cover it. When you have something that has to simmer, uncover it. The reason being is that you don't want to trap all the heat. It will risk scorching your food. Unless the recipe specifically says simmer with the lid on, then I would say err on caution, take the lid off. So you're still going to stir occasionally even though it's on simmer for two reasons. One, you don't want it to clump up and get too hot and scorch because it's going to take a little bit of time for this stovetop range to cool down to a simmer temperature. Another thing is do not set your lid on the counter. Two reasons. One, aside from it makes a mess. to, if somebody comes in not paying attention and turns on a different burner to prepare to cook, you could set a fire. So
then it should not be on the. Then it should be on the counter, not the stove.
what did I say?
You said don't put it on the counter because someone will turn on the stove.
All right, camera lady has corrected me. This is not a counter. This is a stove. Do not put it on the stove, which is the words that I was trying to say, and I didn't. So put it on the counter, put it in the sink, just out of the way. If you're not currently using it, do not put it on the stove because you don't want to risk fires. Happy thoughts. All right, guys. I am not going to leave this video going for the 30 to 40 minutes. 30 to 40 minutes. Let's enunciate. Whoop, whoop. Because that's a very long time to wait. And all it's going to do is sit here while I stir and simmer. So we'll pause. It'll seem like no time is missed at all. And then we will continue on. All right. Guys. So we actually let this simmer extra long. I said 30 to 40 minutes. But because I did not let the lentils boil for quite the same amount that I normally do, the lentil beans were not quite ready. So I actually went ahead and turned it back up to medium for another 10 minutes before putting it back to simmer. The lentils are now perfect. And thankfully, because we didn't overboil, the carrots are not mushy, which was something I was concerned about. So when you're making this at home, if you need to, you can always turn it back up for a bit and then bring it back to the simmer level. Or the other option is letting it boil maybe an extra 5 minutes or so. Again, we are not professionals. We are learning as we go. Even me, who has done this recipe before. So now we're going to add the very last part. But I wanted to throw it out there because transparency is also good. And so is honesty. So we are now going to add our parsley and our dill weed. It's already been measured. Poof! It goes in. And then our red wine vinegar. Now we are only doing a small amount of this. 1.5 teaspoons, not tablespoons, teaspoons. So this one's half a teaspoon.
Like that again.
Sorry, thank you. 1 teaspoon. Thank you, camera lady. 1 teaspoon, and then we will add. Ooh, why don't you want to come out? Ooh. And sometimes we make a mess, but it's okay because we always clean up when we're done. There's 1, and now we turn this. This is one of those nifty ones. So now I gotta slide it up to half. There we go. Bam. And we stir it up. Now, once this is done, once you've stirred it, you're going to turn off your stove and let it kind of sit, permeate a little bit in there for about 15-20 minutes. And then you are ready to pour it into a num-num bowl and eat and enjoy. You can also, as another alternative, you can add a little bit of dill to the top as a garnish if you want, without it changing the flavoring. All right, guys, there we go. Am I on?
Yep.
I'm on. All right, my foodie friends, as you can see, it turned out amazing. I cannot wait to take some and just devour it. But until I do, because I'm not going to do it on camera and make you all so jealous, because you might not have made it with me just yet. I would like to say thanks for watching the video and joining us today to make vegan lentil soup. Yum! And I would like to say feel free to leave me a comment. Let me know what recipes you would like to try, or you'd like me to try and to put together. Do you have a favorite? Do you have something that you've always wanted to make but haven't done it yet? I'd love to take a stab at it. Wink, wink. Anyway, go ahead and tickle that like button. When you hit that like button, that helps my channel, and it is a great way to show that you've enjoyed what you've been watching. Feel free to noozle the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any foodie content. We want to have all of the cooking impaired foodies here enjoying the fun and trying something new. And I'll see you guys again next week. Love you.